we have Peter Gay with the top stories making the news this week. Peter Gay.
Adrian Co, we begin with news just into our newsroom, meaning this information is happening as we speak. Virgin Islands Search and Rescue Advisor is leading a search and rescue mission after a boat flipped in the vicinity of Road Harbor and Peter Island this afternoon. Advisor has confirmed that it got the call at about 5:30 p.m. this afternoon, and when it got to the scene, one man was found on the boat. That man, we understand that he goes by the name Passion. As you can understand, the information is coming into us and we're funneling it out as we get it, and so we don't have their correct names at this point. However, there was a second man that was on that boat. His name is Bongo, and he remains missing. We understand that Passion was taken to Peebles Hospital where he's being treated. We don't know how serious, if any, injuries are, but what we can definitely confirm at this time is that Advisor continues the search and rescue mission for Bongo, and we definitely hope that all turns out well regarding this search and rescue mission.
Yes, we hope so, Peter Gay, and we have to practice boat safety. More and more boat accidents are beginning to happen, and I don't know what the causes are, whether we are driving boats intoxicated and under the influence, or we don't have all the safety gear that's necessary to operate the boats. I know we have some training, a training school here in the BVI now that's training persons how to operate boats safely, and all the maritime knowledge and equipment that you need to have. And I think that perhaps we need to start taking advantage of those services so that we can prevent the boating accidents. But we hope everything goes well, and we hope is Bongo the one that's missing?
Yes.
Yeah,
Bongo.
we hope that, of course, we hope that he's found. Yes.
Now, Edu Enka, the other item in our top news segment this evening is that of the Premier's midterm report national address, which took place last evening. In that near 35-minute long address, the Premier said that his aim was to provide an update on the progress achieved in fulfilling promises and commitments made to the people of the BVI. Now, some of the highlights which we want to discuss on the program this evening. The Premier spoke about the BVI's Asia connection and its significance to the economy. Now, you'll recall that there has been talk about a new bank entering the territory. In his budget presentation, the Premier spoke about a new financial institution which would help to resolve the correspondent banking crisis. Earlier this year, Carson Wen, who is the founder and chairman of Bank of Asia, announced that that bank will be here in the BVI this year, and the Premier confirmed that last evening that the online banking financial institution will be launched later this year. Take a look.
But we must be nimble to meet the needs of our Asian business partners, which makes BVI House Asia a critical institution. For example, for the past few years in Hong Kong, we experienced difficulties with opening bank accounts. BVI House Asia was on point to help facilitate an innovative and technology-driven banking solution, the Bank of Asia BVI Limited, which is expected to open for business later this year. I am especially grateful to its founder, Mr. Carson Wen of Hong Kong, for not only his tireless efforts in getting the bank open, but for all he does for the BVI.
Pertaining to Asia, the Premier said that Asia continues to be crucial to the BVI economy as it contributes to some 40% of the business done in the financial sector and 25% of that for the government, and has been crucial to the BVI's business, or persons who continue to do business in the BVI, not allowing themselves to be bullied by those who would rather see the BVI not in the business of the financial sector. Here he is.
Since December, our territory has added 4,000 new business registrations, bringing our total up to over 421,000 companies. While that uptick is relatively modest, it is a signal that investors around the world are refusing to be bullied away from doing productive business in the BVI, and that is good news for us and for the entire global economy. And as we work to stabilize the industry, we are playing offense as well as defense. That starts with our continued work to build our position in Asia. 3.5 years since the launch of BVI House Asia in Hong Kong in September 2013, we can say categorically that the investment is paying off. The Asia-Pacific region is now the BVI's largest market, representing about 40% of the territory's global financial services business and about 25% of government's revenues.
So there you have it, Edu Enka. The BVI Asia connection is very significant to the territory's economy.
Absolutely, Peter Gay. It's a strategy that I've supported for many years before now. And given the fact that Europe and North America continue to attack our financial services, which accounts for about 60% of our income in our budget, we need to start looking into other markets where we can grow our we can maintain, sustain, and grow our financial services business. And Asia is developing at a rapid rate. China is on the verge of becoming the world's #1 economy. Asian culture is very similar to African culture, and we have a lot in common. And I think that we need to form alliances that is going to be of benefit to our national security interests. And I think it's a very important move and a good move, and I'd like to see it succeed and to realize its full potential.
All right, now moving on to the issue of finances. Remember that there's been much talk on the ground as to whether or not the government is broke, and there's been a downturn in the earnings of the financial services sector. Add to that talk that sometimes the government is late in paying its vendors. Well, the Premier responded and he said that the government is not broke. Here he is.
Despite what some have falsely claimed, government is not broke. Government's finances are as sound as any in the world. And part of that sound approach to public finance means effective borrowing to support critical capital investments. Today, our public debt stands at 19% of our GDP. The fact is that by any responsible measure, our debt is manageable and in keeping with best practices. In 2015, we achieved a historical milestone when our territory's GDP crossed the threshold to become a $1 billion economy. And in 2017, we have projected continued growth of over 3%.
Now, the Premier says that his administration's efforts can be seen in the strong state of the territory's finances.
This year, the BVI will achieve an important milestone by fulfilling our commitments under the Protocols for Effective Management of our Finances, which we entered into with the UK in 2012. Under that agreement, we committed that our reserve fund would be equal to 25% of our recurrent expenditures. And this year, we will hit that mark with over $60 million in the reserve fund, there to meet the needs of our people on the proverbial rainy day.
Now, Edu Enka, the Premier also went on to concede that mistakes have been made by his administration, but efforts will be made, and this is particularly with regard to communication, and he says that efforts will be made going forward to fix this. Edu Enka.
Yeah, well, I think we know the country is not broke, and we know that the government has done a lot over the last several years, 4 years prior and the 2 years now, to increase income, generate more revenue. I think the cruise fare development is a major development in terms of increasing revenue. Our push into Asia to sustain our financial services has prevented it from diminishing to the point where it would have had a major impact on our economy. So we minimize that impact that was thrust upon us by the European community. And so they've been doing a lot to build infrastructure, electricity, roads, water and sewage. So a lot is going on. There's a lot of money circulating in the territory. The mistake, and the Premier seems to understand it now and has acknowledged it, is that we need to have explanation for certain things. And we rely on our audited accounts to give us an idea where our finances are. Those need to be brought up to date. We said that we're going to spend $60 million on a cruise fare. We spent $80 million. We just need a simple explanation. The kiosks that we were going to build were inferior kiosks. We built some big, strong kiosks now that could withstand 200 miles an hour wind, and so that's where the $20 million gone. All we need is a simple explanation. It's not, it's not rocket science. And if you're doing something and you change your mind and you want something better and it costs more, you just say so, that's all. And so we need to have those things explained, and he's right, they have been lacking in communications, and for the life of me, I don't know why, because it's really such a simple matter to explain the things what you're doing. And so when you don't explain, you leave you open yourself for all kind of speculation and all kind of rumors, and people who seeking power, throwing casting aspersions and innuendos and all kind of thing all over the place, and causing disruption and division. So I think the government is lacking when it comes to explanation and explaining to people what it is actually is happening when they're spending the money. And I think those are the things that we are upset about. Nobody doubts that the economy is doing fine. And one other point, Peter Gay, it's not that the country was broke or is broke. It is a cash flow problem. That the way the money comes into the government, and the government has to spend money. It's a major revenue owner, is a major employer. It has to spend money in order for the economy to run smoothly. And so when it doesn't, it creates a problem. And if it has a cash flow problem like businesses, when things are slow, money comes in slowly, and when things get busy, you pay off that debt. Yes. And banks are there to support businesses when they have those types of challenges. And the government should have had that $20 million line of credit from years gone by. They slacken this, they slow to respond. And so now that they have responded, there should be no need for the people to be waiting this long on their money, because money needs to be circulating in the territory from the government because of its position in the economy, in order for the economy to function smoothly.
And those areas that you highlighted in terms of advancements across the territory were the areas he highlighted and more. However, he did speak minimally about the airlift problem that continues to hold back the territory in terms of business and tourism, while he didn't address in detail this whole BVI Airways saga. He said that BVI Airways is a part of the resolution, which he says the plan regarding airlift is an ambitious one, and that there is no easy solution, but that the government is working to resolve it. He also addressed crime as well, saying that outside influence from foreign companies are painting the wrong pictures in young people's minds, that's getting them into guns, drugs, and other not too good lifestyle. But he did also say that the government has given the adequate financial resources to the RVIPF, and the RVIPF should basically get to solving the crimes that are in the territory.
I think he's talking about international media when it comes to influencing everyone in the territory, not just the children, developing greed and certain types of desires. But the airline situation, we need to really focus on good processing of investors when when they come to the territory and not just be quick to believe everything they say. We need to be on the ball when it comes to that. And you were right. I think you were right, Peter Gay, that you remember we talked about
the last conversation.
we speculated that the airline is trying to shake down the government for more money. Now, I don't know that to be the case, but it does seem that way because nobody's telling us anything again, right? Well, you know, what a solution could be, in order for the government to save face, they may want to look at a group of local investors who could fill that slot, that gap that the government is left open, and we'll have a local partner that will be part of the decision-making process in the airline, in that airline company, in order for us to secure our national security. Because if you have a local business person or a local group of business people who have an investment in the ABVI and is at the table in the decision-making process, then they will be unable to make decisions that will not be in our best interest. Yes. And so I think that one way to go would probably to try to get a local investor to make up the government gap in money. The government will save face, and we could get the airline out of the ground, because we have to get the airline out of the ground. And the people who own the airline know this, and they know they got us, but you know what? And and they squeeze in, and we have to push. We have to push back. We can't be bullied into spending money that we may not want to spend at this time because we are in a crunch with airlift. You know, so we have to be strong, and we have to let these people know that, you know, you just can't come in here and say what you want and do what you want and expect us to just jump in and fulfill your desires when we have our own things to deal with.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, Edger Encock, persons are of the view that even though he did say a little bit about airlift, they would have loved to have heard more in terms of specifics, especially responding to, you know, the claims by BVI Airways and about the expansion of the runway. What's the latest with it? Is it a go-ahead or not, or, you know, just something to let us know where we're at?
We want to know where that is, and we want to know what obligations the government was supposed to meet that they didn't meet, and if they weren't supposed to meet any, we need to know what the airline is supposed to do. We need to expose the airline owners and tell us the truth about what's actually going on, so we could support them in whatever action, whatever decisions they make. Anyway, we are on the train at the clock. We could go on all night.
Yes, definitely.
This is my favorite discussion. Thank you very much, Peter Gayon. You want to tell the audience about where they could find you?
All right. Remember to check out stories from the JTV Newsroom, as well as top news on YouTube, Facebook, and jtvlive.net.